Trolls tend to be viewed as the assholes of the internet, and I am one of those assholes. I wouldn't say I'm a cruel or mean person. My motivation for my actions all come from a feeling. It's not really a negative feeling, but it's not really a positive feeling either. I can't even really describe it, but I just get this feeling. A big misconception, though, is that trolling is hating, and it's not. They're completely different. It's not about them. It's not a personal attack. I understand they might take it personally, and they might even resent me for it, but that's not what trolling is about. Trolling can even be a good thing sometimes, giving people insight into the effects of their own self-representation. Like when a friend of mine photoshopped herself on this photo and put it through Instagram and then added it as a mobile upload trying to play it off as a real photo. Well, I saw the original photo and I followed suit. Or when Pimpa friended me. Her Facebook looked like a page at a Sky Mall. I pretended to be someone trying to sell a device that would eliminate coat racks. Pimpa had her objections to my idea. I tried my best to get her on board. I took screen caps of the conversation and I showed it to some friends and we had laughs, but it really felt natural for me to do this to her. Things really escalated when I got a friend request from My Jiniawa Muhammad. When I saw his Facebook photo, I just had this bizarre urge to Photoshop it immediately. I started photoshopping more and more images and just posting them all on his Facebook. And he didn't even seem to understand Photoshop, so I just couldn't help myself. Now, not all of these were created by me. There were people who heard the story through the blog post and started contributing, which led to more people friending him, and the initial joke was lost. He evolved into this online persona, and it turned out he was a really weird guy. The whole experience with My Jiniawa just burnt me out on trolling. It evolved so quickly into this big thing, I just needed a break from all of it. I decided to do something more traditionally productive. It was a game that takes the mechanics of Apples to Apples and reimagines it by replacing the words with images. My goal was essentially just to update the game for the internet. It was time consuming and I felt good doing something that didn't exploit other people's sincerity. I didn't feel the urge to troll again until months later, when a friend of mine started talking about this magazine. I was familiar with this magazine, but I didn't really have an opinion on it. I looked them up on Twitter and I noticed the I in the middle of the name looked a lot like a lowercase l. Moments later, I had a new Twitter account. They blocked me immediately, and I resorted to just tweeting at some of their friends instead. I really wanted to see how far I could take this. And no, I'm not some dummy from your grad program. Eventually, it was reported for impersonation though and got shut down. There's nothing more frustrating than having someone else tell you that you're done trolling. It's like someone taking your plate away from you while you're in the middle of a meal. I had no other choice but to continue working on Palm, but I was still really hungry. Later that week, I heard about Ryder Rip's Wikipedia page. A random wiki user went and flagged the nobility of Ryder's article and claimed it was self-written. It wasn't me who flagged it. As far as I know, this is just some guy on Wikipedia trying to up his own credentials. And this apparently really upset Ryder. and he started tweeting about it. After his tweets, his article was getting defaced from every direction. Someone even went to the lengths of adding his nickname as Poopy Face. Until then, I hadn't participated, but when I saw that nickname, Poopy Face, I couldn't help myself. It was a very brief incident, but it did the job. I refocused my energy and I went back to working on Palm. At this time, I was applying to conventions and tech expos, trying to get a spot on a panel or a booth where I could demo my game. My first application was to RaffleCon, a convention based around internet culture and its images. In my mind, RaffleCon was the perfect fit. Palm is a game about images, and most of the guests lined up at RaffleCon were people involved with images. The people from the images, the creators of the websites that made the images popular, and even the guy who simply hosts the images. The first email I sent was just a cold call describing what Palm was. They didn't reply. So I went and sent a second email, more clearly displaying our traffic and feedback. And they still didn't respond, so I was about to give up. But then, completely out of the blue, we got our first piece of real press. I couldn't have been happier. I attached the press link and sent one last email. I knew that validation would convince them to at least reply, and, well, they did. They said their schedule was filled, and we should turn Palm into a real-world game. If I did that, they would be happy to have me. Palm is a game that mostly contains GIFs. You can't display a GIF in real life as a tangible object. After thinking about it more, I got angry. I assumed they were talking about Apples to Apples, the game that I based the mechanics off of. And that's when I finally realized what it was like to get trolled. It seemed like all professionalism was thrown aside, and I proceeded to write my own troll response. I looked up the woman who sent me the email and I discovered that she runs an online store that sells meme merchandise. In my mind, all the pieces were falling into place. RaffleCon was nothing more than an opportunity to sell t-shirts, and my game doesn't use meme images, therefore I didn't fit the business model. I was telling anyone who would listen about the response I got, while venting all of my frustrations into a very, very long reply email. I even told a friend of mine who was working at RaffleCon. He responded with that he knew Christina. She just sent me a generic response like she did to countless others. When she said that she would be happy to have me, it was just a nice way of saying, buy a ticket. But then came an even worse revelation. I just trolled myself.